Let's bring in CNN's Max Foster to talk about all of this. Max, good to see you. So I just want to start with, why do you think we are seeing a rise in support for some of these right-wing parties?
Well, you know, the epic election obviously this year is India. You've got a right-wing government likely to come back in there. You've also got, you know, the return of Donald Trump potentially in the, you know, the right-wing politics in the US. I do think the European Union, which is the second biggest election this year, is an interesting case in point because we've had this big rise in right-wing parties from Sweden down to the Netherlands, down to Italy. And also here in the UK, the Reform Party, I wouldn't describe it as extreme right, but it's certainly on the rise here as well. And the UK, that used to be the Brexit Party. And it was Brexit, really, where we first saw that big immigration debate blow up, right-wing parties capitalising on that. That informed a lot of the original Trump campaign. And now we've got Trump coming back and re-inspiring a lot of the ideas. And immigration is where I think the right wing, particularly the far right, thrives, and it's resonating. Also, Omar, interesting here in Europe is that, like in America, there's more skepticism about funding the war in Ukraine. And parties are doing quite well, right-wing parties, suggesting that we shouldn't be supporting the war in Ukraine and sending funds over there. So it's sort of the topics that are resonating are often right-wing issues.
And is it sort of a sign of the times that these are the issues that are motivating, you know, a certain base of people, particularly on the right here? Or what do you think it would take for that rise that we've seen to end or to slow down or to shift in any way?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I can't necessarily answer that, but when I speak to people who are voting for the right, it often comes down to cost of living, economics. It's the idea that economies are doing well, but the rich are getting richer, but the middle classes, for example, just aren't feeling that. And this is what the right wing often speaks to, anti-establishment and protecting people's incomes by closing the borders, for example. So I wonder if it's just a case of, you know, economy is doing well, but the spread of wealth increasing, so people don't feel as if they can't afford the funding in Ukraine. They can't afford to sort of compete with immigrants for jobs. It's those sorts of issues. It's definitely deeply tied to the economy and cost of living.
Yeah, and that gap between the wealthiest has grown, and we've seen it grow significantly over the years. Max Foster, thank you so much for your perspective.
Thanks, Omar.
Of course.